All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Up and In Show. We are on a couch, but it's not purple.
No.
Yeah, but I'm excited to be here. We are at Sigma Engineering in Baton Rouge, and today's guest has a little bit to do with Sigma, so we'll dive in on who he is, but I'm very grateful for the time that you are willing to give to us, this space that you are willing to give to us. We are in a little bit of a holding pattern. You guys know, I have my shop, and we went to the downtown location, but we are in another holding pattern, hopefully because good things are coming soon. So appreciate everybody being here, all the support, everything. And also I got to show a little love to our sponsors, St. Rock Vodka of 7-3 Distilling. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. They are the official vodka of the Bayou Traditions Collective, which is super awesome, which means that you guys can buy vodka and have some drinks and also help some of our great athletes that help us win national championships, go to the Olympics. We just won 25 golds, which is freaking awesome. But yeah, so make sure if you guys drink vodka, St. Rock Vodka, it's unbelievable. It's awesome. And it's from a distillery down in New Orleans. Fresh Chef Kitchen, Baton Rouge. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. Meal preps, you can buy it by the bulk. They have a place off airline. It's absolutely incredible for people that are on the go, looking for quick meals, parents that have kids that like play sports, all that kind of good stuff. You like to meal prep, they're absolutely incredible. And then of course our friends at Rejuvenate Medical, wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. Great anti-aging facility here in Baton Rouge and all over the state. RejuveMeMedical.com. Make sure you guys check them out. They're absolutely incredible. Hormone replacement therapy if you're into the skin stuff, Botox, filler stuff. It's important.
I should probably go do that.
I need my face. Apparently people think that I have wrinkles. I like wrinkles. I think it ages you well. What? Easy over there. Anyway, on to the guest of the show. Robbie Olivier, President, CEO of Sigma, all the important things, owner, all the great
Janitor,
shit.
all the things.
Janitor lets us hang out in this cool room. But seriously, thank you for having us. Thank you for all that you do. We are going to dive into some cool conversation about how you and I cross paths, passion projects of ours, things that we're doing together in business with Cards and Culture. Your absolutely incredible sports card collection now, which is awesome. And this is the first time in 200 episodes I'm going to give somebody a gift on the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I can't be more excited.
It's absolutely incredible. I'm just starting to dabble in wine, so bear with me, but I've heard great things about this bottle. It's all about the weather conditions and the way they grow the grapes and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's a really great bottle of wine.
Look at you.
Look at this beautiful.
Oh my God.
I've heard it's a great label. I don't know. So.
Look at that. That is a great bottle of wine. How did you come by such
I have a good
bottle
friend
of
that knows somebody with the label and all this kind of cool stuff. So
I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna open it on the show, but you provided me with a great drink already. So, we have it. Are we ready to roll? Well, I don't know if we can mix the both. We can save it for after. We want to do it.
Yeah.
I was prepared also, but maybe we could save it. You also have a podcast called Wino with Rhino, right?
Yeah,
or a show.
A buddening podcast.
This is it.
Yes.
So this would be one of the bottles.
That is too cool, my brother.
I'm re-gifting to you, but I just figured we were going to drink it. And I was like, if I'm going to drink the bottle that you gave me for the shop, we're going to do it together at least.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But why don't you give a quick intro, 1-minute rundown, who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into our nice conversation that we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, right on. We got a lot to drink.
Yes.
So thank you for the intro. Robbie Olivier, CEO of Sigma Engineers and Constructors here in Baton Rouge. I've been here for, I guess, almost about 20 years now. I typically like to fly below the radar a little bit in terms of like this kind of stuff. So this is officially the first podcast I've actually ever been on. Oddly enough,
Officially?
I know. Officially.
Wow.
Oddly enough, I have 2 more scheduled in the next month. And we, my little friend over here, Sarah, we started a podcast that we're just keeping a secret from people right now.
Gotcha. So I just spilled it.
And
gotcha.
you did. No,
Sorry.
I love that you did that. I need help with this kind of thing. It is called Wino with Rhino, and similar concept, really just good people, good stories, talking about different aspects of life, leadership, business, that kind of thing. I really, get very passionate about sharing my story, hearing other people's stories. There's a lot of connection in that, and a lot of beauty in people kind of coming in together in community, what they have in common, seeing what they can build together kind of deal. So it's kind of what I'm all about. And so this is a new space for me. I'm trying to see if I can just challenge myself, get a little uncomfortable, and see what happens.
That was good. No, that's I think you and I have crossed paths in that way, and you've pushed me to do some great things and that are going to be great that I'm definitely uncomfortable with, but it's good. And I think we're going to do the same for you. And like I said, I think there's a lot of people that just want to podcast for the exact opposite reasons, you know, or put stuff out there for the exact opposite reasons of what you just described. And that's why I think we're pushing you so hard to do that stuff, because it's coming from an organic place. And, you know, individuals like everybody in this room actually all want to hear what you have to say, even though you don't ever want to believe that. But you're in places that all of us want to go, you know, and want to be at someday. So just your experiences and that kind of stuff are going to be really valuable to people. So that's why we're pushing you to do it. It's going to be great stuff. And like I said, at worst, it's documenting cool shit. So that way, you know, like 60 years from now, you can like, your kids can show their kids and be like, see, like grandpa was he's pretty good at a lot of shit that he did and what he said. And here's some evidence of it. So yeah, I'm happy you're doing that. And I'm excited to see what you guys build and what you guys are going to create there. So
yeah, cool. Man. Look, I appreciate you pushing me, and I'm excited.
Good. Well, just to let everybody know, our paths crossed probably in February this year, right? Earlier this year. It was right before baseball season. I know that. So, and Robbie and I hit it off at a lunch with a mutual business partner of mine and his. And long story short, we are now doing business together. We are about to create some really great and cool things. I'm really excited to learn from Robbie and his team and the things that he's done experience-wise. And I think Robbie's excited to dabble into some of the collectible stuff and some things that, you know, at your age that you're excited to kind of be able to do and share with your family and share with others and things like that. So, you know, it's been a really cool journey so far. And it's crazy because we're sitting in your building too that, you know, I don't have that much to do with, but every time I come in here, I'm taken back and I'm just like, this is fucking amazing. Like what you built, what you do, how you operate. So growing up, was that something you saw yourself doing? Were you always like, I'm going to be a leader of a business? You know, obviously we're going to talk about baseball and that kind of stuff, but did you always kind of see yourself when you were done with baseball doing something like this?
So when I was little, all I knew was I was going to play baseball, right, first of all. So, now I had very natural instincts to lead anytime I would be on the playground or at school or whatever. I always found myself pushing to kind of take charge, very recklessly, I might add.
You're a bully?
No, some people might would claim that. No, I didn't know how to harness it, really. Yeah. There was a natural ability there, or skill set there, and I have had the great fortune of a lot of people that love me and have given me grace and have allowed me to kind of be a jackass and fail. I've had that my whole life. I've had that here at Sigma. I mean, I can tell you all kinds of stories about how I've tested my my welcome at Sigma in the past. But I've always kind of had a resilience and a curiosity to learn, and I think that's really helped me just be open to, all right, even though I was very arrogant, very cocky, I still had a curiosity that drove me to kind of get over myself in those moments. You know, struggles like anybody else does, but that curiosity really helped me to learn how to listen. And I would say one of the things I'm most proud of in the last probably 5 or 6 years is that I can hear things better that I absolutely could not for my first 40 years on this planet. Yeah. You know, so just gaining that self-awareness and getting some clarity over the purpose I want in my life, the alignment I want with other people and with myself. There's a lot of peace that comes with that. Yeah. And I think when I was younger, being very aggressive, I was always afraid that if I had peace and I was calm, I would lose that fire and that spark. And I'm here to tell you, for me, it's only made it like galvanized.
That's
like
awesome.
It's just made it more focused. Yeah. And so, I'm in a great place now. You know, it's been a long, wild ride, and a lot of people scratch their heads like, how the hell did you get here? Right. Yeah. You know, and I'm not done. Obviously, we're talking like we're doing my memorial. Right. But,
this is just a checking point. There are going to be follow-up episodes throughout the next 15, 20, 30 years.
Hopefully they go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I've always been fascinated in people and how they work. Like I said, I just didn't have very good skills when I was younger in terms of learning what to do with that.
Yeah. That's more what it was, what to do with it, right?
Yeah, and I didn't even know what questions to ask or what I should be asking. And so I had a lot of struggles when I was younger with just being misunderstood, you know, by my closest friends, my closest family, and that kind of thing. And I think I never aspired to answer your question directly, I never aspired to like be a business owner or an entrepreneur. I literally had one goal, and that was to play baseball for LSU and then hopefully play professionally. It was my whole family played. They played for LSU, and that was the path. That was the one kind of deal. And so when that didn't exactly manifest the way I wanted it to, I kind of wandered in the desert for a while, like, who am I? What am I doing? And I know that sounds silly, but it truly was the identity I had for myself. Yeah. And so there was a lot of reflection in my 20s about, what are you doing with your life? Mm-hmm. Like, what value are you going to be if it's not to bring joy to people by playing baseball, right? Yeah. And there were some dark years in there trying to figure that out. But I've learned, I guess for me, I've really connected to being able to impact people on their journey. And being an entrepreneur and a business owner, Sigma has about 225 employees now. I love the fact I get to impact so many people. Not all of them great every day. Right. But for the most part, I leave here feeling like I definitely help people along their path to a common goal we all want that also serves our own. And so I'm really complete with that. And I'm excited to be where I'm at on my journey with that, because I was not here, that long ago. And so... and it's led to other opportunities for people like you. If I would have met you 10 years ago, you might have thought I was a jackass.
Yeah, no, trust me. I wouldn't have been very excited. I don't know. I wouldn't have loved my version of myself 10 years ago to meet you either. So I think that's the way life goes. And as we mature as men too, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's different journeys and levels of that. So I think that's really cool. Were you always, we're going to jump back to your baseball experience and your story. Was that always something driven in you as a teammate too? Like, whereas you saw things in other people and that kind of stuff in your leadership? Yeah.
And it's funny, again, I think there's a lot of power in I'm a very passionate guy. I'm kind of your rah-rah guy. I'm loud, and I'm kind of go unconscious on the field. Like, it just happens. And with that, sometimes when a teammate would make a mistake or whatever, it came out with that same volume. So I think the humility, the humbleness I gained by I can't play baseball anymore, right, kind of started me on a journey of, okay, well, now I understand not everybody resonates the same way. I grew up with tough coaches in a household where there was a right and a wrong, right? It was very clear. And so I guess for me, I always felt like I knew the right thing to do, and that kind of came across as maybe condescending, or it wasn't empowering. Right. And I never understood why I was getting reactions from certain people, because I loved tough love. You could tell me, you could be as mean as you wanted. You weren't going to hurt my feelings. I'm just going to do better. Right. I didn't know that not everybody responded the same way.
You learned about love languages? Yeah. When I learned about love languages, I was like, oh, shit, like I need to relearn all this stuff.
Yes.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's really it. Yeah. I don't even remember what your question was.
No, I think you answered it, but sports teach us so much too, right? Yeah. Like, and that to me, and what my show is about, right? I sit down and talk with athletes, entrepreneurs, entertainers, influencers, that kind of stuff. But a lot of people usually have some sort of sports background, and I like to try to connect the dots between the two because, shit. Even if I got to play at the highest level and it was taken away from me like this, right? So most of us are going to spend, it doesn't matter how much time you playing your sport, you're going to be outside of the sport, and then hopefully you do other things in society, right? Yeah. And so I always just like to connect the dots of things that you learned along the way and how then you apply them. And then as you mature, right, it's like a compounding effect. You're like, oh shit, I was really dumb and young and arrogant, and now I'm maturing and older and I have more skills, and it's like you have this compounding effect where it just makes you hopefully a better person and a better leader and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and I have 3 kids, Bryce, Hattie, and Sadie. They're my whole world, along with my wife, Janae. And I've coached all 3 of them, T-ball, baseball, softball, whatever, to varying skill levels. And I remember my son, his career ended about like mine, not on his terms kind of thing. And I remembered the day he found out he didn't make the team, I just told him, like, you've learned all the things that baseball has to teach you, like how to deal with failure, how to deal with success, which is something I didn't even know I needed to learn, right? Yeah. But one mantra I've repeated with them that I always thought the psychology of sport, which is your thoughts manifest your words, and your words manifest your actions. And so just the power of thought, like, I got a 3-1 pitch and a really good hitter. Gosh, I can't execute this pitch. It's in such a tight window. And as soon as that conversation starts in your head, you've lost a battle, right? Yeah. Whereas on the flip side, you give up a bomb, you give up a double in the gap, and you still go, I got this guy in my crosshairs, right? Like, you got to be that persistent. and that consistent with that self-motivation and that view of the world. Otherwise, you're not going to luck your way into success. You have to be relentless in that. And so I love all three of my kids. They're all completely different, and they're all just awesome kids and awesome personalities. It's been so much fun to watch them be challenged in different ways and how they deal with adversity. And they're all three way better at it than I was at their ages. I'm going to tell you.
Well, that's good. Hopefully they're learning from you and your experiences and everything. Right? That's what we can do. My dad used to always tell me that. He was like, my job as a dad is to see you do better than me. And he was like, that was kind of something that, and I'm not here to talk shit about my grandfather, but he was like, that was one of the things that my dad and I used to butt heads on. He didn't want me to be better than him, or he was insecure about that, right? And so I think that's, speaks testament to you as a man and as a father to be like, well, they're doing better than I am, and it's probably because you're teaching them that skill set and you want them to do better than you, so yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, and it's like I said, my goal has been for my kids to have more success than me, and my definition of success is alignment of purpose and happiness. Nothing to do with money.
Right.
Yeah, we all want money. That's great. But for them to have joy in their lives and to put good in the world. And so I think if they can do that, maybe start a little younger than I did, a little less scars to show for it. That's my goal. And I think that should be every parent's goal, really.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, that's not always the case, but it should be at least. But again,
sure.
We're not here. This isn't a parenting show, for sure. As evident by me not having any children at 34 years old.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your baseball journey. I want to talk about that a little bit and unpack that, and we can stay away from anything you don't want to talk about. But I do think that journey is important, and you and I have shared so many. We've had some really great, moments in the last 4, 5, 6 months or whatever since we've been getting to know each other. But I think we've connected on a lot of that vulnerability, right, as men and as current leaders, and as the way people see each other, right? Like, holy shit, a lot of this is shaped actually because of what we learned in baseball, or what was taken from us, or what didn't turn out. So, and you also said something too that I would love to, we'll eventually get into, and I've never really I've heard people talk about it, but I've never really had a conversation with anybody. But you said I had to learn how to deal with success. That's really interesting, because that's part of my story, I think, too. So let's rewind it back, though. Uncles, dad, everybody played baseball.
So my mom's brothers.
Yeah. I love the story about your mom, right?
Yeah.
So we got to tell that. So.
It kind of explains why I thought I was supposed to play baseball for LSU. Had a lot of grandkids. I was kind of towards the younger end. I think I was the third youngest out of, I don't know the number, maybe 18 on just my mom's side.
Oh my God.
And I'm the youngest of 3 and the only boy in my family. My dad got polio when he was like an infant, and his whole life he dealt with that. He was an incredible athlete, but obviously that hampered him to a degree. Yeah. And my mom was an incredible athlete, like gymnast, tennis player, all that kind of stuff. But all growing up, all the grandkids, they would all line us up and roll us a ball. And from like 1 year old, I'd pick it up and like, suck. And my grandmother used to tell me the story all the time, like he's going to be something. And, my cousin Brent played for Ole Miss. My cousin Kyle coached at Catholic, and he's, big gun at Marucci now. Yeah. And so the whole family is just baseball. That's what I've always known. And I was always just kind of a natural at it, kind of thing. So all coming up, playing in Louisiana in the 80s and 90s, like, was a baseball haven.
And you grew up in Baton Rouge, right?
Yes. Yeah. And going to the ball games with my dad, just such special memories. And we'd, bring a glove and we'd toss between innings, that kind of thing. And, I got to know Skip Bertman and all that stuff kind of as he was becoming the legend that he became. So I was always around the program. I was recruited by them. Had really great 7th and 8th grade development, and went to Catholic, and our class was amazing. I mean, we had 7 or 8 guys that all immediately made JV, which was a record at the time. Just absolute hammers, and there were great guys already there. Patrick Coogan, Dan Guillory, Chris DeMuy. I mean, just hammer after hammer. Yeah. I mean, Catholic was just pumping out these kids, right? And I'm going, holy shit, I get to put on the same jersey as those guys, right? And so I kept developing each year. And my junior year, our ace, Chris Jones, who's an awesome dude, he's an attorney here in town. He got hurt, unfortunately. But for me, I kind of had an opportunity to kind of step up, and had a really great junior year. Just big moments. We had a lot of scouts, and my uncles were still in touch with their professional scouts, so they would come, and I'm like, holy shit, this is happening.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This is really going to go. Had a pretty magical junior year for myself. And Catholic did pretty well. We lost, unfortunately, but that summer we played in a lot of games, and I'm getting way too weedsy here, but effectively I overthrew. I think I threw like 230 pitches in like 4 days.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
It was a little bit before time of information, right? We knew
Yeah.
probably shouldn't be pitching that much, but there was no way that we have the information that we do now.
So think about this as an athlete, okay? Without all the things we know now, I'd already pitched like a 7-inning game and threw probably 90 pitches. 2 days later, I'm pitching against, I want to say it was Gilmesh, who was like one of the top 3 or 4 guys in the country, and he's playing right there in like Acadiana High.
Yeah.
And we got our own horses on our team too. There's nothing but studs everywhere. And coach asked me, it wasn't my high school coach, it was a summer league coach. He didn't really know us that well. He's like, can you go? And he asked me in front of Mitch McGrew and all these other recruiters and all these scouts. I'm like, yeah. And meanwhile, like my legs are shot. I can barely stand. I'm like, sure, I got this. Right. My elbow was killing me. I wound up throwing like 140 pitches or something. And me and Gil just – it was 0-0 through 9.
Oh, my God.
Kurt Ainsworth came in the 10th, and I think shut it down. We got the win in like the 11th.
Jesus.
But after that, like my elbow was like, and we're done. You just spin it all right there, bud. And so to kind of fast forward a little bit, I didn't think too much of it, but the elbow kept giving me trouble. It wound up being so bad. I had all kinds of shots. I tore ligament in my elbow. I did not pitch a single pitch my senior year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so like I'd mentioned Kurt before, he was our shortstop. He used to come over to the house, and my dad, we did drills every day. And like my dad's a mechanical engineer, very studious, and so we go get lessons from Randy Davis and all these guys, and he would take video, and we'd study notebooks of his notes. I mean, it was a really cool thing we got to share together. It was awesome. But anytime Kurt would spend the night, well, he'd just do the drills with me, and he wasn't really a pitcher. He just threw 92 from shortstop, right?
Yeah.
And turns out I got hurt. He grew about 3.5 inches, and I'm like, oh, all right, what's happening right now? And of course, Kurt's older brother Kevin was an LSU guy, an awesome dude himself. So we were all baseball guys. So it didn't pitch, just wound up playing first. We had a really good senior year. Didn't quite accomplish goals we wanted to, but Kurt just was out of this world. And I was really proud of him, at the same time trying to get out of my own head of, shit, I thought that was going to be me.
Yeah.
I never had resentment towards him, though. I'm sure it was awkward for him, too, like, shit, Robbie should be doing this with me kind of thing, you know.
Right.
So I was so proud of all his success and what he's doing now in business. Really proud of him. But that was really tough, but I still didn't believe I was done. Like, it didn't occur to me, you know, I'm going to recover, whatever. Yeah. Well, during the summer before senior year, pitching coach for LSU at the time reached out to me. Actually, I got a parking ticket. I was coaching the baseball camp. And he called my apartment or called my parents or whatever. He's like, I need Robbie to come see me in my office. I'm like, oh, shit, he found out about my parking ticket. I guess
of course, yeah.
And so I go in there with my parking ticket. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I brought cash.
Like, I'll admit it. I promise. Like, well, it was me.
And he's like, what is that? I'm like, got a parking ticket. He grabbed it. He's like, okay, I'll take care of it. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, no, just we got a long line of Catholic High guys coming to LSU. You know, your family used to, you know, big part here, and you got a jersey waiting for you, bud. And I'm like, oh.
This went completely different than I thought.
I went home, mom and dad were all crying. My grandparents, you know, like you mentioned earlier, when my uncles played, my grandmother was the official scorekeeper at LSU, like the first one. And at the old box, my Uncle Gene was the oldest living baseball alum, and he pulled the last number off the 330 sign.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So cool.
Which was my freshman year, which is wild.
That is wild.
I was there. Yeah, I was there while we pulled it off the old box. Yeah.
And so my mom was Catholic's official scorekeeper, and we were just going to kind of keep this thing going, right? And so, after senior year, I went to a talent showcase. I did pitch a little bit. I was hitting, you know, maybe 90-ish, but my arm was about to fall off. And it wasn't great because there was Chad Durbin, Kurt Ainsworth, Gilmesh, Jeremy Robertson, Ben Sheets. We had like 7 of the top 10 pitchers in the country, with all within like a 30-mile radius of each other. And I didn't feel great because I threw a bullpen, and all these guys are just throwing lightning bolts. And I'm like, I'm not even recovered, whatever. I'm leaving. Long story short, I wound up hitting a little BP. I hit okay. And at the time, LSU's hitting coach, who was not the guy that recruited me, called me over, and he's like, "You hit the ball pretty well." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't want me as a hitter. I'm a pitcher." And he's like, "Oh, okay, guy."
Yeah. He's like, I'm also talking to you about hitting at LSU. Shut up.
Yeah, right. And then the Rockies and I think the Phillies scouts were there. Want me pretty good, and I was like, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm going to LSU. And my dad was like, "Is that how we should play?" And look, we didn't have agents.
There was no playbook.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean,
Yeah.
I was literally like writing letters to Skip Burtman kind of shit. Like, "Hey, I'm going to play for you, guy." And just looking back, just played it all wrong. But
you don't know.
I didn't.
Yeah.
And I was coaching camp later that year and whatever to one of the coaches. I'm like, "Yeah, when are y'all going to give me paperwork, whatever?" And it was just awkward. And I can tell in that moment, like, "Oh shit, they pulled my offer." Like, oh
my God.
And so I went to Skip, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And he didn't have a very pleasant reaction to me. And I'm like, "What? Why am I like persona non grata all of a sudden?"
Yeah.
And of course, that was in their heyday. They didn't need to wait around and see if I was gonna get better.
Right.
And so that's kind of how my career. Well, not entirely. I was playing summer league with Bill Hood. We were playing out of our ass. Coach at UNO saw me. A bunch of the kids on the team were going to UNO, so I wound up going to UNO. And threw a bullpen, hit like 93, 94. I'm like, I'm back. And that night, I was taking a shower. My entire arm went numb. I couldn't feel a thing for about 2 weeks. I couldn't even take a test. I couldn't write.
Yeah.
And then I got a car wreck, broke my sternum, my clavicle, flipped a car over like 5 times. I'm like, okay, I'll stop.
Yeah.
I'll stop.
Got you. Reading. Yeah.
Yeah, so that long-winded rehash story, God, I haven't relived that in a while. It's painful.
Wow.
That is ultimately when it came to an end. But the funny thing about it is I still was not convinced I wasn't going to play for LSU. That's how, like, psychologically it was ingrained in me kind of deal. So there was a lot of anger. Like, I used to be, like, pretty Catholic, confirmed at 16 and all that. I went through 2 or 3 years of, like, I don't know if this religion thing's working out for me.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of growing up that had to occur in there with the adversity within that. And so... So dealing with anger, dealing with confusion, loss of identity.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because a couple of years later is when my son, came into the world as well. So here I am, a total shit show with no plan. I was in school at LSU for engineering, came back to LSU after my freshman year. But I had to look in the mirror a lot of nights going, now you're responsible for another human being, dude. Like, get your shit together. You can't be this guy anymore, right? Let it go, grow up, kind of deal. And so, yeah, that kind of set me on a path of, all right, we got to figure this out because failure's not an option,
Right.
And so I was non-negotiable with failure, but I had no clue where to start.
Yeah, that's heavy. And I mean, for so many things to be taken away out of your control too, right? Like, there's things that it's easier to look yourself in the mirror, maybe not, but at least if it's your own responsibility, hey, I drank every night, I did this, I didn't prepare, I didn't try, or whatever, right? But car accident, injuries, and again, I think what people totally underestimate, and so many people's careers were altered by this, you did what the mindset was back then. It was, sorry, you're a bitch if you can't go. Like, I'm asking you if you can go because I want you to go and I need you to go. And that's like the right answer. That's the only answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back then, right? Now it's like the coach gets questioned for asking that question.
You'll get fired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a different world, right? And you did the right thing or what you knew, and your whole life was flipped upside. I mean, and then in a car accident, literally flipped upside down. That's crazy. I didn't know the car accident part, so it gave me some chills, like just hearing that. But I mean, that's what I think people underestimate too, of like when they see Robbie Olivier, right? Like, they don't understand the time that might have taken, the things that had to happen in somebody's life for them to get right, because it could have veered off really quick, really weird,
I mean,
and I've seen that happen with a lot of guys.
You said it. And look, the other thing, and we'll get to the part of dealing with success in a second, but that also keeps me kind of like on my toes of, okay, I got a lot of good things going for me, but I'm not going to sit here and just go, I've made it.
Right.
You can't think that way, because it can take you. I have no control over anything,
Right.
And so going through that process really helped me understand that.
Yeah, and set you up, later on in life too, I'm sure.
And
right?
as a side note, because Stephen Davis, that's my best friend, he was in the car. It was actually his mom's car I was driving.
What?
And yeah, and he broke some bones in his face and all that stuff. So we were already super tight, but you can imagine that kind of is what made. That's why we're still, brothers to this day. That was a huge moment, obviously, for both of us. And there's no reason. Like Mercedes came out and shot a commercial on the wreck site because there was nothing left of the car. The engine flew out the back window. Like we shouldn't have lived. And so that was another thing that kind of put things in motion for me. But look, you're right. And the comment you kind of made there is a perception of, oh, life's easy for Robbie or whatever. And look, I'm not complaining. I have a great life. I'm very, very fortunate. But about 20 years ago, I was getting cash advances on my credit card at 40% to pay rent.
Right.
Like literally 2 decades ago. Yeah. Right. That's not that long ago. Yeah. And so I've been broker than pretty much anybody that's worked at Sigma. And I take that seriously because I spent so much time in a victim mindset. I was mad at God. He took that away from me. And now I think it's so silly. Like, it was just a game, dude. Like, let it go, right? But at the time, I was a victim, and everything was everybody else's fault. And that's how I acted. And I was just mad. And I was producing horrible results. And Bryce really is my savior because it really made me ask the question. And I alluded to it earlier. I wasn't asking the right questions. I was like, this isn't the result I want. What am I willing to do to get a different one?
Wow.
And having him is what made me ask the question. I don't know, I was going to get emotional today.
No, that's why we're here, dude. I'm serious. I'm grateful for it because, again, and that's what honestly why I do these shows is because I've shared a locker room with a lot of dudes that when you flip on the TV, right, you make your mind up. You have your opinions made. You think you know what their life is like, but one, I've also experienced the whole spectrum of things in my life that were not probably what 99% of people think, right? And then I've played with some dudes that I know almost 100% of people have no idea about, and I'm like, you don't understand what it takes and why and some people get weird about why people are paid and why that, and you're like, motherfucker, you have no idea. Chill out, please. Like, I promise, because there's a reason that he's there, she's there, and they belong there. I promise. And that to me is these kinds of things in these moments, right? And I think even bringing another life into this world is so powerful. It's something I haven't yet to experience that I look forward to one day. But I always felt a little bit jealous of guys that I played with that had kids, because to me, that's the ultimate perspective. You can go 0 for 4, get your tits lit on the field, right? And walk off and be like, everybody fucking hates me, get death threats. But then you go home and you're like, wait, fuck those people. Like, this kid is all that matters to me. And I'm a dad now. It doesn't matter what my job was, right? Like, it's here to make this kid right. And so I was like, just that perspective switch and focus and it's out of necessity, but I was like, you have to do that. Like, I just get to go home and have to play video games and I might suck at Call of Duty tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn it. Like, now I can't stop thinking about getting lit up on the field, Yeah. But like that ability to do that or finding that, and to me, again, right, that's where what you believe in and God, the universe, whatever, like gives you things at the right time to be able to be like, are you going to do this or are you going to be a piece of shit and be like, you know what I'm saying? Millions of other people that have done it like this. So
yeah, perspective changes everything. And you can't get great perspective if you're not willing to listen.
Yeah.
And we all have our insecurities that make it harder for us to hear. Like, those are the blind spots, right?
Yep.
And it's so difficult to know where to start, right? So when you finally make the decision, okay, I'm done acting like a little bitch.
Right.
Yeah. Now what?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
There's no book, and there's plenty of awesome people in the world, but it's your journey,
Yeah.
right? And different coaches are going to present different things that you're going to hear differently,
Right.
Or different life experiences. And so kind of on to the success part. So as I finished school, wound up moving to Houston.
Bryce is already born at this point, right?
Bryce was born 2 months before I graduated.
Okay.
Which was really devastating on my GPA as I'm sitting there trying to take tests like I'm gonna have a kid.
My kid,
yeah. And then I got the company I was interning for had a round of layoffs, and I got caught at the tail end of that. So I had no income. I had a kid that was just born, and I could not find a job. No one was hiring in my industry. Graduated mechanical engineering from LSU, 2001.
So .com thing just happened, everything, right?
Yeah,
like all that
killer.
just would blow up. Yeah,
Fortunately, the CEO for this company in Houston was from Brobridge, LSU grad. He said, go to LSU and bring me one home. He's a big baseball fan. And I don't know how all of that manifested in me getting an offer, but wound up Me, Bryce, and Bryce's mom moved over there. I was offshore 60% of the time, was not conducive to that relationship.
Being there.
And both me and Bryce's mother were young and dumb and kind of brought out the worst in each other. Like,
I would
we were both
imagine,
in a foreign land. It was just worst case scenario. What's awesome is we're like super tight now. We're great friends, both, committed to, doing the right thing for him. And so all of that turned out great. But what's interesting is I started having some success in my career. Now, I was broke, like super broke, constantly stressed out about paying bills, like ordering Taco Bell to eat off of 4 days in a row because it's the only thing I could really afford. But I was doing really cool things at work. I found out I had some natural abilities, some leadership abilities, that kind of thing. Fast forwarding when I came, I'll skip to when I wound up coming to Sigma. I went off to one of our client sites for about a year. And I learned a lot. I'm like, man, shit, I can solve problems like kind of in a unique way. I think I add some value. And I was really able to help Sigma develop that relationship and help that client solve some problems. My first year at Sigma, I think we did a total of like $600,000 or $700,000 in revenue. Within a year, I was able to help our team land a $2.3 million project. I'm like, holy shit, we've never done $1 million in revenue before, and so that was exciting. I'm like, shit, I have like a superpower. This is kind of neat. And I wound up coming back to Sigma, and I got to manage a lot of the projects I was able to go get. And I had this really cool guy that hired me that wound up becoming my partner later, that really challenged me. He was a great business development guy, something I'd never done. And so I begged him, like, let me go with you, let me learn from you. And his name's Danny Kais. And he did. He was always open with me. He would always let me kind of see how he worked. He had a totally different style than I did, but he was so natural at it. I wasn't. But I was able to develop my own style with it and just learn that skill. And so that kind of set me on a path. Well, the interesting thing, I'm bringing in probably 75% of our work. I'm managing probably half of it. I'm now managing multitudes of people. All right. Now, we were a small company. I came to Sigma, we were like 14 people. But as we grew, I'm doing my damn thing. Like, I'm a difference maker, right? Yeah. And it was funny. After about 2 years of that, I'm thinking, I have made it. I'm a pimp. Like, I am a business savant.
Yeah. How old are you at this point? Ballpark?
Probably young 30s. 30s? Like 30 to 31-ish, I would say. And you talk about blind spots. I thought everyone loved me. I thought everybody's like, man, thank God Robbie's here or we'd all be screwed. And then our kind of management team that I had ascended to, relatively young, they said, let's all go on a little guided fishing trip down in Grand Isle. And I love sharing the story. I share it here all the time because it's true, and it's who I am. Well, we go to this nice big steak dinner, and I'm like starting to get my sip on. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. With my guys, this is great. Yeah. Well, it wasn't a fishing trip. It was a fucking intervention.
Robbie, sit down. We need to talk.
100%.
Wow.
They went around the table and basically told me how difficult I was, how no one wanted to work with me, and they would rather not have success if it meant working with me. Like, whatever, I don't listen, I'm super arrogant, I don't care about people. And I immediately just like heartbroken devastation. My initial reaction was, fuck all you fucks. Right. You know what you're talking about. Yeah. In my heart, I love people. I'm a compassionate person.
Yeah.
And basically they all said, nope. And to a man, like, they all sat there and said, nope, we are united in this. We've been talking about this. We care about you enough to be honest with you and be courageous to share with you. But you're a difficult person to give feedback to.
Wow.
You don't listen. You're very defensive and you're very arrogant and you think you know everything. Like, nobody can argue with you, bro.
Right.
And I'm like,
stop it. Stop picking on me.
And so I left that trip very angry and determined to go start my own company and to put Sigma out of business. And I wanted all of them to suffer.
Yeah.
That lasted about 3 days. I still did go open my own business, Olivier Engineering. It's never been used, but nobody can use it because I own it. But the thought process I had was, okay, you can do that. You probably could go start your own company, and you probably could eventually build it and take these guys down. Even though I'd never ran a business, I had no clue what I was talking about. Right. I was just cocky, and a lot of self-belief. And I went, however, I think that would be hollow. The bigger challenge is not creating a successful business. The bigger challenge is to turn all of these guys around and make them believe in me. if I can do that, I can do anything. And I cared about those guys. And I felt like something in me drove me to, that's such a critical development for me. I couldn't quite articulate it at the time because I had too much arrogance and such a lack of self-awareness. But I set out on a mission. I remember a course my grandfather told me about that my dad desperately tried to get me to go to. It was a Dale Carnegie course right here in Baton Rouge, where I learned a lot about the shit that's in my way and how stubborn I am and my refusal to see when people are trying to help me. So that really set me on a path of self-discovery, reading a lot of books, getting with coaches, whatever training I could get. I was just insatiable with it. And I went on a mission to just turn everybody around. I think within about a year, I really developed a knack for, if someone came in my office like they wanted to murder me for something,
Right.
I really took a lot of pride in, you give me about 30 minutes to an hour, I'm going to make you feel like we're best friends.
Right.
And so I developed some skills one-on-one. And I think the reason they developed is because it's very authentic to me.
Yeah.
Like I very much care about that space.
Right.
And so it gave me an alignment of purpose. Like, holy shit, now that I see where this is turning, I think I could be a really powerful resource for people that are in their own way, because no one was in their way more than I was. And a lot of people, like our newer folks, have no idea about that part of my history.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely not something I'm like proud of my behavior, but what I am proud of is I wear it like a badge of honor, because without that, I wouldn't have the context or the ability to give people grace when they're not perfect, right? I mean, I was so condescending and so harsh on people when they weren't perfect. I mean, imagine being my child when that's how or my wife, God bless, Janae's a saint, right? Like if she left the light on, she'd get like a 30-minute lecture, about, because it cost us 7 more cents. So that mattered, So the dealing with success, that was the whole point of that rambling, is I got so full of myself. And I will tell you the key takeaway from me, now that I reflect back on it, is I was not aligned with my why. And I know that's like a catchy phrase now, but I like to say alignment of purpose. I was doing good things, but I was just doing them. There wasn't a specific goal other than more success, keep gobbling.
Right.
Through that path of severe depression, self-doubt, like anxiety, not knowing if anybody gave a shit about me anymore, like I'm a piece of shit, like all the things, right? The anger, the sadness, all the deals. I really connected to, I want to show up to a place and I want to impact people and I want to help empower them to whatever the hell they're trying to do, as long as it's in a positive way, right? And I fail at it every day. There's times where it gets the best of me and I'm an ass, or I take a shot at somebody. I like to make jokes. And so sometimes I fail at it.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've learned is like, okay, well, I get to go clean that up and I get to go recommit. And I'm okay with not being perfect anymore. Again, it took me about 4 decades to figure that out. So I'm not worried anymore about, like, when we talk about business or I'm trying to help you and you're trying to learn from me, I'm not worried that I'm going to let you down. Because if I do, I know that I believe I can fix that and we can talk about it and reconnect, right? And so 10 years ago, I would have been riddled with, shit, he's got me on a pedestal, he's going to let me down, right? And I treated most of my relationships that way. You cannot lead from that place. Yeah. It is not authentic. It is bullshit. Yeah. Like, the reality is sometimes I suck. And sometimes I'm going to do things and you're going to go, what the fuck, Robbie? Yeah. Right? And I'm okay with that. Right? Because at the end of the day, law of averages, like, I know how I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up as genuine as I can be. Yeah. And I know that, I want to take care of you and do right by you. Yeah. And that's how I lead here. And look, all the rah-rah things I talked about, I am still a very passionate dude. Like, people, I kind of wear people out a little bit. Like, I get really excited. I think I've been talking for like 30 straight minutes. I haven't even taken a breath.
That's the point of a podcast, though. That's good. I'm listening. I was actually thinking, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to ask Ness, because I'm just like, I just want you to keep talking, so it's good. Like, I'm like, I don't just keep rolling. But no, I couldn't agree more. And there's so many things in there that you said that I'm like, I mean, again, right, you're 10, 12 years ahead of me in my journey and like where I want to be. Yeah, there's not a number on it. It doesn't matter. That number is arbitrary. But it seems like there's common themes here, like in your life, right? Like when you were done with baseball, it was the identity strike, but it took humility and it took a humbling and something to be taken away from you for you to be almost stripped naked to be like, what do I do next, right? And then you have a kid and then you're like, cool, I respond and I bounce back and I figure out a way. You start climbing and then your people chop you down and be like, yo, I know you thought you were here, but here's something actually that you didn't see. And so you're immediately back into that naked phase of like, okay, how do I do it? So I guess my question and like what I was thinking the whole time is, one, how did you identify, right? Like in my journey, there was podcasts, there was YouTube, there's these things that I was like, oh my God, I missed all these things, right? Like when I was playing ball and I was able to figure that out. For you, what was it that allowed you to recognize and be self-aware about that victim's mentality? And then I guess you kind of answered it a little bit, but like books and like reading and going to different things, but like what in real time did you like practice and do to like start acquiring those skills? And it sounds like eliminating the fear of failure is probably one of the biggest things, and that's something that I had to learn in my life, but I mean, it might be something different than
Yeah, look, I'll say that a little different way. I still have fear, but I have a lot more courage.
Right.
And I have a lot of data to ground that I'm going to be okay.
Right.
And I will say too, I had incredible parents that were unwavering in their support of me. They were so consistent. My dad was very engineering, but he always preached to me about credibility. Like credibility is consistent behavior over time. And there was probably 10 years of my life where he's like, how the hell are we related? Because my dad was like, he always did the right thing.
Right,
like, he's such a strong, ethical dude. Like he is one of the best human beings I've ever known, and dealt with adversity his whole life, and he was never a victim. Like here's a guy that could barely use his left leg as most of his life, and he never talked about it.
Yeah.
Like it was never a thing for him.
Right.
And so he never taught me how to be a victim, certainly. And my mother was the most positive, empowering, wonderful human being I've ever met. So I had these incredible parents. My grandparents were amazing. I had this great family. And all the times I acted like such a jackass, they never made me feel like they were going to get rid of me or anything. Right. And so I think that was always there. Like, there's a reason these people believe in me. And as I got older and I appreciate them, like, I just can't let them down anymore. Yeah. Like, I got to do something with that. Like, I don't want to make them look bad for believing in me, kind of thing. Yeah. The real time thing, something struck me during that exploration. I call it like 6 months in the desert where I was just in depression. A curiosity really just started bubbling up, kind of like, I just went to Yellowstone, so forgive the reference, but like Old Faithful. Like the steam started coming and then like a geyser, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I want to know the answer to all that, right? Still had arrogance and stubbornness, still couldn't hear. To me, it's a relentless pursuit, though. The reason why I think I'm where I'm at, I am relentless in the quest for that. I have an insatiable thirst for understanding of why do I do what I do? Why do I work the way I work? Right. The dichotomy, the struggle for me was each time I go do something, I'm like, oh, I'm fixed. And then I'd fail like immediately. It'd be like, you suck. You didn't learn anything. That was a waste of time and money. And I keep referencing this like 5 or 6 year phase that I'm in, where there's a lot more grace with me failing. Like, I'm going to let you down, or Abby or Sarah or whatever. Like, I know it's going to happen, and I know it's going to be okay. Right. That to me is the ultimate kind of grace I've learned to give myself, that's made me just a happier, calmer person, that's way less abrasive, that's just easier to deal with. And I can hear and see things on a different plane. And I got a ways to go, and like, I'm going to leave here and screw that up. I'm probably going to like pick a fight with my wife when I get home, like a jackass, but like something. But I know it's going to be okay, right? And I think that's the difference, is just having that level of clarity and just kind of having a peace with, hey, you're imperfect and it's okay because you're still awesome. Like, it's good, right? Me viewing myself that way in turn has allowed me to do that for other people, because people just thought I was hard on them. They had no idea what I was doing to myself. Right? I had myself in a headlock 24/7. So I think just in that moment of despair, I just had a curiosity of, I don't want to feel this way. Like, what can I possibly do? And I just had great people in my life that were unwilling to give up on me, that just stayed the course. And I was willing to do the work, you know? And to this day I have that. I don't know why. I have always been gifted with just amazing people in my life. Like, I mean, you guys, like, I am so honored. Holy shit, I'm sitting on the couch with frickin' Anthony Ranaundo. Like, and I don't mean that lightly. Like, that's awesome, right? I mean, you're a big deal, and I get to be a part of your journey. Like, that is, I'm honored. And to me, that's why I do the work I do on myself, so that when that opportunity shows up for me, that I can participate in your life and be a part of your journey and maybe help you along. I want to be ready for that.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to be careless with that. So I'm relentless in making sure that I'm prepared and I'm ready when that opportunity knocks. And, that's what makes this exciting. And then when I can see it land and I can see a similar mentality that you have, especially the baseball background and all that, I think things can catch fire, kind of like what we've been doing together here lately.
No, absolutely. I mean, it really is. And I think, again, I sit here and I'm, again, why we push you to do podcasting, because I'm like, this shit needs to be out there to the world, because I think, again, I know I have 20-something-year-old, people that I work with that are 10 years behind me, and I'm like, wait, like, you're literally listening. Oh, this is helping. This is good. Like, this is, and the same way, that's why I'm like, yo, you need to put this out there, please. Cause like, it's helping me, and it's just the frame of mind. And, I can relate so much to when I was going through my personal growth stuff of like wanting to scream it all I've learned everything. Like, this is amazing. Like, it's opening up, right? Yeah. I want to fix everybody and help everybody. But then you just realize too, like, you're going to keep fucking up. Like, you're going to keep messing up. And then it just gives you that grace to be able to bounce back. And again, right, there's always a fear of failure. You don't want to fail. Like, you don't want to have that intention, but the intention's always to learn and grow. Then it takes that fear of failure and drops it way down, right? Mm-hmm. Of like, everything's an opportunity. Yeah, I'm probably going to fuck up somewhere in the next hour, 2 hours, some way or another, but I'm not as hard on myself because I don't feel so low about it. I know I can use this to rebound and bounce back. And I think that's what I relate the most on where I'm at in my journey. Because if you looked at my life 10 years ago and where you did now, like, if you look things on paper, you're like, this is interesting. Like, he's in the minor leagues again. Like, he made it. Or people be like, he made it. He did it. He did this. He did that. Right. But it was like, I still wasn't satisfied. I wanted to do more, and I wanted to impact things on a different level. And I feel like I could have done my baseball journey differently and better. And that's where I was like, all right, well, now I have an opportunity in business to do that in a different way, Yeah. And it allows me to have a lot of grace and presence about where I'm at currently, right? Because I do feel like I'm in the minor leagues the same way that I was, pitched at LSU, won a national championship, and the next year I'm pitching in front of 48 people in freaking Salem, Virginia, and I'm like, what's happening right now? Why am I not in the big leagues? Like, I remember literally going into our sports psychology coach and being like, I'm fucking better than every one of those fucking starters on the major league team, and he was like, whoa. He was like, sit down, buddy. He's like, let me school you a little bit, and I was just like, he's like, you think you're better than John Lackey? Like, and he starts rolling off these things, and I was like, oh shit. But I remember just being that arrogant, right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I equate right now to myself and where I'm at in business and young entrepreneurs, and why I want to have this podcast of like, yo, just be where you're at. You're going to meet the right people. You're going to align with the right people that are going to help you get to that next phase. And it's going to allow you to understand this phase and this journey a little better and make you enjoy it more, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I feel like, I connect on a lot too, is just being able to pass that, I don't want to say knowledge, but experience down to other people and stuff like that. So,
well, and look, you've shared with me some stories about your journey, and we had a really powerful moment when you shared that phone call you got from your dad, right? When you made it, and that's your story to tell. But what I will share with you is one of the things I connected to with that is when my baseball career ended, I wasn't as upset for me. I was more upset that I let my people down. Right. There was an expectation like, oh, Robbie's the guy. Like, we get to live through him with these experiences, right? And so that was probably the hardest part. And the learning for me was, holy shit, that's the lens I look through life. I'm living this for everybody else. Like, I'm not doing shit for me. And the irony is, the mindfuck is, they all think I'm arrogant. Like, it's not even about me, but somehow I get that label. Like, what the hell is going on in here? What kind of mental ninjutsu is happening there?
I have crazy chills right now. Like, because one of my friends told me, like, after he got to know me after I was done with baseball, he's like, I think you're probably the most misunderstood human that I've met, because he was like, here we are thinking this, right? And I was the same way. And I stopped baseball at 28. I could have kept playing, and like, everybody was like, wait, you're not playing? Because during that year off, what I realized was I was telling everybody, yeah, I'm going to go play in the World Baseball Classic next year. I'm going to go and I was just doing it just to get people off my back. But it was actually the happiest I had been in years of being like, I don't have to go to the field today. And like, I realized that it was just so I could call my mom and dad and be like, yo, did you see the game last night? Like, And they could go tell their friend, all right, did you watch? Did you do this? I have literally chills because it was the same way. And I was like, I'm not fucking playing for me. Like, I'm playing because I want to buy my mom a house so I can literally give her the first $1 million that she busts my balls about to this day. That, you know, like literally. I was 8 years old and I used to tell my mom, like, we would go places. She'd be like, yeah, he plays baseball, blah, blah, blah. Like, my mom didn't grow up in a sports world, right? But I would tell people, like, yeah, don't worry, she's going to get my first $1 million anyway. My mom doesn't listen to my podcast, so we don't have to worry about this. Bro, I made a couple $1 million early in my life, and we'd be go to family parties, and she'd literally be like, yeah, he said he was going to give me the first $1 million. And I'd be so like, great. She's serious. Like, she actually wants $1 million of my dollars. Like, after I'm, you know, and all this stuff. But low key, that started creating this mindset of like, I'm pitching because I'm gonna buy my mom a house. I'm gonna give her $1 million. I'm gonna do this, right? Versus, no, it's me and that batter, like it was when I was 15 years old and it was just I wanted to go compete, right? So I think that was what I realized when I was like, I don't need this baseball shit anymore. I made $6 million. I'm happy. Life is great. I get to go start and do cool shit. Yeah. I've met a billion people in my life that are awesome. I have all these connections. And I literally had friends being like, dude, I can't understand what you're doing. Like, I don't even want to support it because I can't understand. Like, this is the prime of your life. You need to go play baseball. And I'm like, because you couldn't, like, I get it. Like, I understand, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me to be happy. And I tell people that all the time of like, when you're done playing ball, yes, there's going to be a dark time, but one of the best times of my life was when I started realizing people still loved me and fucked with me because of who I was. Yeah. Not because I threw a freaking baseball 100%. Or wore a uniform, you know? And I was like, oh, you still think I'm handsome? Like,
oh, there's more to me?
Yeah. This is great. I thought it was because I put this uniform on and this hat. Like, oh, this is great. Okay. And so, like, but just that perspective, right, of being like, wow, I have more to give to the world, excited me just as much, if not more, than when I gave it. And I started realizing, oh wait, I like this baseball shit because I could go out to the field and give a kid a ball and he was like screaming and crying, and that was actually the fun part. Like, yes, I loved competition and I loved beating somebody, but as I got older, it was more about other things, you know. And I was like, I don't need this stuff anymore. And literally the only reason that I ever want to play again was just to walk off the field on my own versus taking a line drive off my hand and being like, oh, well, that was kind of the last pitch that I threw, you know. And also just to play with a more clear mind and like that kind of stuff, you know. But I think that's such a heavy part of playing, is like you're playing and doing things for other people too.
And look, I mean, to me, that was an epiphany. That's why I was living my life. I remember I had an opportunity at UNO. I went to UNO that freshman year, like I said, to get Tommy John surgery. And at the time, it was not what it is now. Like now, the average age is like 14 or something insane. At the
back then, it was like, oh, your career might be over. Yeah,
well, like 4 out of 10 people were successful.
Right, exactly.
Like 2 or 3 people, like they were okay, and then there was 2 people that like lost the usage of the right arm. It was more of an art than a science.
Yeah.
And we talked to Dr. Andrews and all that, and my dad came to me and goes, well, I mean, I can empty out my 401k to pay for the surgery because you're not on scholarship. You're a medical red shirt. So we're going to have to come out of pocket for this, but I'll do it if you think you can make it. I'm like, I can't put that on you.
Right.
Like, there's no way. And he wasn't trying to apply pressure to me. He was literally giving me all the options, just being a great dad. You know? And he broke my heart. Like, it was like 7 or 8 years ago. We're having a crawfish boil. Like, I have moved on. I am not bitter that I didn't play baseball. I love my life. And we're just drinking. He just looks at me. He's like, you ever wonder what would have happened if you would let me pay for that surgery? Like, don't do that.
Yeah, like, no, I've never let it creep in my head.
Yeah, why are you still thinking about this?
That? Yeah. I remember you telling me about that a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that one hurt.
You're like, wait, you've been thinking about this for all that time?
And then immediately went back to, I've let him down.
Right.
And then he would, if he watches this, that will break his heart. No, share that story. He is super proud of me. But it also, to parallel back to that, a lot of my success in business, I would immediately go call my parents. And I was finding, like, thank God I had these experiences with baseball, because I started to have a little more awareness and consciousness over, holy shit, I'm doing this so I can call them and tell them, hey, you guys did a good job raising me. Right. I'm doing all these good things.
You can be proud.
And I would get off the phone and I would feel a little bit hollow.
Yeah.
Like, I would feel great for them because I wanted to honor them and pay them all of the respect, because holy shit, what a great life they've provided for me. But I really literally was not doing it for me at all. It was so they could be like, my son is not a piece of shit. Right?
And right, that literally, and like my dad goes to VA meetings, you know, like, and so I'd be like, I know he talks about me like at the things, I want to make him proud this week, like literally things like that. And I did the same thing when I got into business. I'd be like, hey dad, I got this opportunity, like, do you think that, like, just so I could feel like I was impressing him to be like, look, I'm putting my money to work, I'm doing good things, right? Like, you can be proud, we can connect on this still, because I was always so insecure. I was like, we used to call and just talk about baseball. Like, he would ask how I'm throwing, how my bullpen was, right? All these things. And like, that was the identity of our relationship. And then I was like, man, I'm doing a lot of this shit just to make him happy. And a part of Cards and Culture, and Dad, I love you, I don't think you'll ever watch this, but if you do, like, a part of me was kind of like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna go do this because I want to. And he actually told me not to, like, and he was like suggesting that I don't do this, you know. And I was like, I know it's hard for you to conceptualize, but I'm gonna go do this, you know, and I'm gonna make this a thing and make it fun and cool. And so it wasn't a fuck you to him, but it was a little bit of like, this is me doing something for me and something that I enjoy and that I see a vision for myself versus, you know, my dad told me at 6 years old, if I tried really hard and I was really good and I would never have to work again and I would make all this money and I would have every girl that I want, you know, like all these things. I was like, man, maybe that's actually why I wanted to play baseball for a long time, you know, like, oh shit. So once you start realizing that, it definitely puts a different perspective out there for you to, you know, do things differently and move in a different way. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, wow, this is good. We're got some tears in our eyes. This is good. Can we do another? Do we have another beer? Do we have another ghost in here? Could I get a ghost? We need one of those. Oh, well, thank you.
We're doing refills.
Yeah, let's get a refill. All right, so we talked a lot about baseball, and we've mentioned Sigma a little bit, and you've talked about your journey there. But talk to me a little bit about, you know, again, you and I have never had these conversations, so if I'm overstepping, please, can you do the thing again with your...
Oh, absolutely. It's like my one talent.
That was... And then Bert, what drinking bourbon?
You can, while we're on a live break here.
Oh, he's drinking whiskey. I don't know if I wanted to put it on.
How quick that was?
That was smooth. Everybody knows that. That's not a twist off. It's
the best part of being married.
Janae, hopefully you definitely don't watch this episode.
I make that joke all the time.
That's good. Okay.
She puts up with me.
Yeah, she's heard it. That's good. See, as an unmarried man, I'm like, that scares the shit out of me for you. I'm like, she's never gonna let you hang out with me again. Hey.
Not at all.
Yeah.
She's used to me.
Yeah. But and again, this is probably my ignorance of my dad being like, just play baseball, you don't have to worry about the rest. I'm gonna be honest, I don't, and I told Sarah this when you left earlier. I was like, what should I be talking about, marketing, what? But
thank you, dear.
There's things that I've wanted to ask you over the last couple of weeks as we've gotten closer that I was like purposely, saving. Yeah. Engineering. What makes you get into that? Was that something you were driven by as a kid? I don't, literally, you're gonna have to talk, I know you talk dumb to me a lot because you're teaching me a lot, but I know. But this especially, I'm just trying to express the magnitude. I don't know. So teach me a little bit about engineering, how you get into that world, that kind of stuff.
So my dad was a mechanical engineer.
It's probably a good start. My dad didn't have that skill set.
Yeah. And his dad, it was kind of interesting. His dad was very artistic. He was a painter and a sculptor and carver and those things. But he was also like a pipe fitter and a welder out at Exxon. And he just was great with his hands. Okay. My dad got into mechanical engineering because he thought that's what mechanics do. Like because he always worked on cars and boats and stuff. I am not that guy. I do not work on cars and boats.
And that's what my grandfather and dad did. So they were more mechanics, they're Navy Seabees, like that kind of shit. Yeah,
I wanted to play baseball and Nintendo. Like I didn't want to change the oil.
That was definitely my speed too. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. And Dad was like, God, I hate you.
Yeah.
Not literally, but he's like, holy shit. He'd ask me for a crescent wrench and I'd bring him like a bone saw. Like I don't know what the difference is.
My dad probably threw tools at me so much. He was like, can you just pretend that you? I'm like, I don't know. Like you told me to throw the baseball hard. I did that yesterday. Good.
And every time leave it there. Every time I come out here, you just yell at me. I don't know what. This isn't fun for me.
You're like, I scored 25 points in basketball yesterday, Dad. Just love me. I just kidding.
Yeah. So I've always been very analytical. I didn't have like awesome grades through grade school. I mean, I did okay. Probably like a B student, I would say. Okay. Pretty much straight D's and C's in conduct. Like I was a problem.
Yeah, you were a problem child.
Oh God, they tried to kick me out of St. Thomas More. Let me just tell you, and I'm saying it by name because you earned it, okay? And I sent all three of my kids there, so you made up for it. But this is how bad it was at St. Thomas More. I got called to the principal's office, and I was getting ready to be expelled, and I wasn't even at school.
Wow.
That's how bad my
That's
reputation was.
unbelievable.
The-
Like, we got to get rid of this Olivier kid here,
Yes,
and he's not here.
100%.
Yep. He's
And my mother, who I've never heard curse, she's never raised her voice. I've never even seen her mad. I will just say there wasn't a person at that school that felt safe for about 2 hours when she brought me into that principal's office. And I did have some teachers that vouched for me. But
that's awesome.
where was I even going with that story?
You didn't get, or you got average grades? Because
maybe
engineering, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you're a genius. You're so
Well,
smart. Like,
maybe slightly above. So like my
Okay.
dad was brilliant. He made dean's list all through college. My mom has like 2 or 3 master's degrees. She was brilliant. My oldest sister has like she had like a 3.7 or 3.8 through college, and she got I think a musical education degree, MBA or master's, and she had a really high GPA with that. My middle sister, who's like the real genius, has 2 or 3 master's degrees. I think she made 1 B in her entire life. I'm
makes
like,
sense why you were calling them and being like, hey, you can be proud of me, I promise.
yeah, I'm
Seems like
good at throwing a
everybody's-
baseball.
yeah, everybody's resume is pretty impressive there in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the idiot. I'm definitely the dumbest person in my family. And the funny thing is, so Janae also has her MBA. So when all of the siblings get together with our spouses, I'm the only one with just 1 degree. And they
Like, you have
love
one piece of paper? With
Yeah,
a
they love to throw that in my face. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I got
okay.
more efficiency out of mine.
You can do other things, I promise. Yeah.
But no, I didn't love academia.
Okay.
Now, I loved Catholic High. I really, grew as a young man there, and I got really good at math, which is not something that I ever thought I would do. Like, it just clicked. I had this awesome teacher, Miss Patu. You're probably never going to hear this, but you deserve a shout out. You were amazing. She is the reason that I actually started getting interested in math, because I finally understood it. I also had one of my coaches, my algebra teacher, Coach Fournette, and he just showed an interest in me, and for whatever reason, that allowed me to get good at math and get curious about it. And I nailed math in high school. I tested out of like 3 or 4 semesters at LSU. My dad's like, wait, you're not an idiot?
Wow.
I
I wonder what that's like.
I kind of scorched the ACT, which again, I never tested well. Like, I never did good on testing, but I took that ACT, and my dad was like, I honestly didn't know if you were going to graduate high school. Like, I'm shocked. This is amazing. And again, it's still lower than my sister's ACT scores. But for like an average dude, like, it's pretty high score.
That's very good. That was not a good test taker. Some people just call that stupid, but
Yeah,
not a good
tomato.
Yeah.
But look at LSU, like, well, actually, I drank a lot, tried to play baseball. We went out every night, and I had like a 3.7 or a 3.8. I was taking like calculus, AP, like literally classes in Greek. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on. Couldn't understand half my professors, but I was crushing it. And I was working out 2 hours a day with baseball 4 hours a day on top of that, and I was injured. I come back to LSU. I have none of those responsibilities. I move home. I have no job. Okay, no responsibilities, and my GPA just like. And so I didn't crush the grades, but one of the things that I actually took a lot of pride in my my college years, I would go talk my professors into letter grades. I would go develop relationships, and that's kind of served me to this day, where I'm like, okay, look, I'd have these great excuses. I build these relationships like, Robbie, dude, you got to do better than this. Look at this answer. It's not even the answer. You're not even in the same ballpark. And I would somehow silver tongue, and I absolutely talk myself into some C's and B's through the years.
I get it.
And look, my last semester, I went to the dean of engineering and I went to the dean of sports psychology and tried to switch majors. I hated it so much.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I met with the head of athletics. I can't remember who it was I met with at the time. But I was done. I was so over it. I did not want to do engineering anymore. I was not passionate about it. And they said, we will not let you switch. I said, what do you mean you won't let me switch? They said, you are literally like 2.5 months away from getting a degree in mechanical engineering with like a 3.0 or something.
Yeah.
And they said, you can finish that, and if you want to come back to school and do this thing, because I wanted
You're
to
that passionate about sports psychology.
Yeah, and it turns out like I wanted to go make money instead. But yeah, so what I loved about engineering. There was a process and a skill set that I was taught on how to analyze things,
Okay.
how to break down data, how to make it very logical, and kind of have a plan of attack on how to solve a really complicated problem with maybe a lot of unknowns, right? So there was a way to kind of categorize things and approach things that just gave me a system and a process to take things on. And so later where I connected with that, and look, I used to do a lot of technical engineering, and I had a lot of fun in that. I was able to solve problems. I felt like it was a superpower. Like I can solve shit a lot of people can't, especially when I was working offshore. We were designing crazy stuff that was going in deep water, and I worked with an awesome team of brilliant minds, and I felt super smart. I really did. Like, I'm like, holy shit, I'm like a really smart dude. And that was big for me because my sisters and my parents were the smart people. I was the idiot.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to play in that level a little bit. And, we had stuff patented and insured by Lloyd's of London. And while all that was awesome, I'm like, this is so just like not who I am. I mean, I don't necessarily need to be the subject matter expert. Like, I love that people come to me for answers and they know I'll grind, I'll figure it out. I'm relentless, right? Yeah. But I really wanted to apply those skills to figuring out people. And when I came to Sigma, I was given that first opportunity. And I won't rehash that whole story, but I kind of took that same analytical approach to kind of breaking down the people problem, which I think makes me somewhat unique as an engineer. I do get that a lot. I do a lot of real estate and other businesses, case in point. Yeah. But I do get that feedback a lot. They're like, damn, you're not like dealing with an engineer at all. I'm like, well, first of all, you just insulted my entire profession.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
But I grew up around engineers and they weren't cool, and my dad's an awesome dude, don't get me wrong, but like engineers were just black and white, right. Like not a lot of emotion, not a lot of feeling. It was all logic driven, right? And as human beings, we have some combination of feel and logic, right? And so I just felt out of balance when I only played on the engineering side. And so I still wanted to honor that side, but I felt like there was more for me, a different itch to scratch, if you will. And so really leaning more into that emotion, that feel side, and how unique and cool could it be for me as an individual to have the credibility of a technical engineer, right? That for a lot of people, that's a foreign concept. Yeah. It was for me before I got my degree. I'm like, no, that's for smart people, right? And then I went and passed the PE. Like, that's a 8-hour exam. Like, I'm a professional engineer in like multiple states. Like, I don't even know who I am, right? But to be able to have that and hang it on my wall and know that that accomplishment was there and still be a human being and relate to people, like that brings me back to, it was cool when I could walk down the street and people were like, man, that dude just threw 12 strikeouts against Santa Maul in the state playoffs. Like I just showed up with instant street cred. Yep. So in a lot of ways, when I show up and I'm a normal person and I can be somewhat charismatic and relate to people and they find out I'm an engineer, they're like, wait, haven't seen one of you before, right? Now part of it is timing. Like society now, like engineers are cool, man. I'm here to tell you, like we got a bunch of them in these buildings over here. It's a different narrative. We're not pocket squares and little, bifocals and that kind of thing. And so I like to think I was a part of that in a way of changing that nerdy narrative. Yeah. We're just excellent problem solvers. Supposedly we're excellent communicators. It just kind of depends on who you're asking. But so the problem-solving aspect and my curious nature is probably what ultimately I backed into it because my dad. Yeah. I just wanted to be like him.
Gotcha.
But where I connected to it was 100% the ability to solve problems. And where I really leaned into it is when I found out I can actually apply this to not just math, but maybe even people a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think that has attested to the growth that you guys have had and seen since, again, you just mentioned something quickly of how much Sigma was doing versus probably where you guys are at now. So has that contributed to the growth of the company too?
Yeah, I'd say so. And look, Sigma from its infancy, from the original founders who were just great human beings, both civil engineers, it was a concept built around we want to be happy when we come to work. That was really, awesome. It was that simple. Yeah. And the concept kept getting further developed, but it always stayed pretty simple. And we can't be happy if we come to work if everyone's angry or unhappy, right? Yeah. And so you got to treat your people right. And and so I think that has cultivated this culture here of people really buy into this concept of, one, it's authentic, it is genuine, it is not perfect. We've had a lot of talented people like, okay, I can't work in that place. It's just not for me, and I get that. And I'm not here to say we're better than anybody else. All I know is we're better than we were. And I would like to say that every day I show up.
That's
like,
awesome.
we're just getting better every day. We're in competition with ourselves. I'm not mad at any other engineering firm or how they do business. I just know ours is unique to us. And so back to your question, a lot of my drive, and not just me, obviously, there's a team of people. We have this awesome management team here now and just wonderful people throughout the organization that have a similar drive and want to be part of this thing that's special, that's different, that's unique. And it is hard, and it does take a high IQ. It does take analytics, but it takes all the things. It also takes empathy and understanding.
My next thing was emotional intelligence. Like, it sounds like that's, and to me, I think today's world, right? Like, the best leaders, the best captains of the ship, all are very, very well versed in emotional intelligence. And I think you and I have had this conversation, but I believe that the true alpha male in today's generation is well versed in emotional intelligence.
It's funny you say that. And so my kids are making fun of me right now because apparently Sigma has become some kind of euphemism out there in the world to where like they're now getting made fun of from their friends. Like, that's so Sigma, and there's something called brain rot. I've still not got my head wrapped around it.
I don't think it's for us. Yeah.
No, it's not. Definitely not for me. I feel so old when they talk about it. But there is something called a Sigma male. Okay, and if you look up that definition, which is not connected to that so Sigma, by the way, but the definition of the Sigma male, so everybody knows what alpha male is, but Sigma, if you go read the definition, it is so in line with our philosophy here. It is about being true to who you are, being unique, not worrying about like what your competition is doing, just focused on being the best version of who the hell you are, figuring that out, right, leaning into it, and just being proud of that and wearing it, right. It's not always cool. It's not always welcoming, but it is who he is. It is who we are, kind of thing. And so conceptually, like, the people that love it here, that's part of the reason they love it is we're unapologetic in being different, right? It doesn't feel like an engineering company. I mean, we're shooting a damn podcast right now, in one of our rooms. And that's what I love about it. Like, it's just different, you know. I don't even know what the hell your question was, but
that's all right. We're not worried about the answers and everything. But I was already like trying to pit. But I say that all the time. I think, you know, Jonah, Maya, Abby, Griff, everybody that works at the shop, I'm always like, look, if I'm paying you to be here, it's because I think you have a skill set, right? And you're going to be able to help us run this business and make us money, right? But I'm not going to get the best version of you until you're happy, until you're satisfied, right? Like, and I think that's just a different world that we're in now, right? The world's abundant. We've realized that kind of stuff. And, you know, the power has shifted and that kind of stuff in the sense of, you know, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was like, you should be honored to have this job and I'm giving you something. Now it's like, no, we're all working together to achieve a common goal, right? And the happier you are, the better performance that you're going to get. So that to me is why the definition of an alpha male has changed nowadays. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, right? Of your coach. I don't think he was doing anything wrong. Is what he was taught was, hey, can you go? Like, need you on the mound. Like, and instead, right, like nowadays that alpha male would have been like, hey, dude, I'm looking out for you. I know you want to go, but I need you to sit out another 2 days just to like rest your arm and that kind of stuff, right? It's that thinking about how other people are thinking, feeling, all that kind of stuff. So, and I think that's how you get the best result. We running out of time. We good?
Yeah, it's something you just said though, the company mentality too. So me and my former business partner, so he retired, I think, somewhere in 2019, and then kind of left me on my own to deal with COVID. Thank you, Danny.
Conveniently, he was done at that time.
Apparently, he knew shit. And we were totally different in our approaches, totally different styles. But one thing we always agreed on is we never set financial goals for the company, which sounds insane as a business owner and an entrepreneur. But we never said, okay, Sigma, we want to be this many people or we want to make this many dollars. We always focused on, okay, we go back to our original principle is we want to be happy when we come to work, which means our people got to be happy with us. So we strive for that every day. And if we just keep growing and keep learning and keep getting more opportunities and kind of setting our goals on how can we be the biggest offer we can be. So let's not get out of our lane and offer services that aren't who we are. Let's not go chase things that are shiny. What can we be the best version of ourselves? Like what's the biggest offer we can be, kind of thing. And the money just has always kind of taken care of itself. And I don't mean to make it sound too simplistic, but that literally drove our success for probably 15 to 20 years of just do the right damn thing, okay? And the money will come. Now, don't get me wrong, if you want to be a responsible in business, you got to learn the business analytics. You got to learn how to read P&Ls. You got to look at metrics.
Right.
You got to get good at analyzing and projecting and predicting and shucking and jiving and recovering, all based on numbers. You have to have that data, and you have to understand it, and you have to be able to manipulate it. But where I see a lot of companies, in my opinion, and I've worked for a lot of them, and I see a lot of them where I think they fail, is that becomes the guiding light of the company, of the organization. And if that's what you're doing, well, just go work on Wall Street.
Right.
Like, go buy Bitcoin. Like,
Go
be an
sell,
investor and
buy
shit.
and sell
like,
shit.
Yeah, real estate, whatever.
Play the margins.
I do real estate.
Exactly.
I get it. It's not emotional. But if you're running an organization that has people, and your product is people, and Sigma's product is our people and the hours they spend, right? And the service, right? Solving problems for our clients, like being an extension of them, having that relationship. Well, you can't make that overly transactional. If you make that black and white, if you make that just about the dollars, it literally becomes that way. That is the feeling the client gets, right? Yep. Like, you ever actually bought a car? Like, you ever feel like, I'm a commodity to these people. I'm a mark. Literally. I am here so they can make money, right? And first of all, that's the reality. Like, I'm not mad at car salesmen, but that's the reality. Them trying to make you feel like you're special and y'all are friends now, that's the shell game they get to get you. And I get it. Like, I'd play the same trick if that's what I was doing. But to me, the business I want to have is something where, okay, if I do it right and I love what I'm doing and I'm hitting my alignment of purpose, doing all the things I love, the money part's got to work out for me, I think, right?
Absolutely.
And I have at least some type of basic level of business math and how it works to where I'm competent there.
Right. I'm not going to let it get
right. Yeah. And I'm conservative enough, but I don't ever want that to be my driver.
Right.
I want to be responsible. I want to be smart, but that cannot be my priority. I got to have 3 or 4 other priorities where if I got those right, this part over here is gonna follow behind it. It's kind of been our principle.
It sounds like it's been your principle too, right? Like, obviously the company takes your DNA and your persona, but one of the first things you sat down and talked about was being purpose driven. And that's, I mean, exactly the way that I've wanted to run a business, probably why we aligned in some way or another. But right, there's a billion places you can go buy a sports card, that you can go find prices of things, or you can go hang out and watch a game. But my purpose was to, every time somebody walks in that door, create a better experience for them and they leave happier, you know, or when they went and bought that rookie card, there's a memory tied to it, right? And to me, that's what purpose driven is, and like why we have a business to this day. And that sounds like everything that you do is kind of aligned in purpose, right? From being a father, from being a successful businessman, from while you were successful, there was always purpose behind something that you were doing. And again, right, that's the whole point of this podcast, is like, everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to define their own way of being successful. And these are the tools and the things. So it sounds like, and again, it's why I think you and I have connected so deeply, is there's purpose behind everything you do. So I don't think that's an accident that things are the way they are here. So that's cool.
I appreciate that. And it was hard earned. And one thing I will tell you is we hit it off at that first lunch, no doubt. I think both of us were like, oh shit, that was like an exciting first date. We were like, I might marry this broad kind of deal. Like, which subsequently, first date with Janae, I knew by the end of it, I'm marrying this broad.
So we get married at some point? I got you.
I mean, a little bit. We kind of are.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are in a way. In the way that the marriage is defined, we probably have something similar.
That's right.
Yes, yeah.
But one of the things that gave me, or kind of grounded the assessment I originally made, was the people you just mentioned. So Maya, Griff, Jonah, experiencing them in the shop, knowing that they've been there through the struggle. They've been there through the parts where we're like, shit, we don't know what's going to happen. There's been a couple of different business partners, that kind of thing. And there's been a lot of great people in and out. But every time I go in there, there's joy. Like, I could be having a horrible day. I'll walk in there and I'm happy. Like, and that's a testament to the culture you've built and the people that you have. And I think it's because it's not about how do we get rich. That's not your goal. I know that. The reason I got involved with this is because we're not doing this to chase dollars. Like, hey, look, we want to make money doing this. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. And we got some ideas and we're excited about, we're going to explore that. And Eric's going to keep us from making really bad decisions. But there's so much joy that's created in the culture of Cards and Culture, and the people there believe it and buy into it. And the regular customers that come in, like, I see their joy and the way that their kids are treated. Like, they feel like they're a part. it's a very similar concept actually to what we try to do at Sigma, even though we're an engineering company. That's the same feel we want when people walk in the door, right? Yeah. And you can't do that if it's about just the bottom line,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be about the people and the experience. And so ultimately, I think I just wanted to pay you that respect, because it's one of the first things I noticed in how you run your business with your people. And kudos to that, man. It's going to pay dividends for you.
I appreciate it. And I do. I believe that. And again, things that we've talked about on this podcast, in this show, I see the long game. I see the short-sightedness I had in baseball, and when I turned the TV on at 34, being like, I should still be there playing and being happy, right? But I don't regret that. I think now it's like, cool, we'll just apply what what you're realizing to what you're doing now. And that's what I always tell, Abby runs our home media side of things, and Jonah runs a lot of the shop, and Maya. And I always say, look, the good wins in the long run. If people know they're going to get a great deal, they're going to have a great experience, they're going to get treated fairly and honestly, they're always going to come back to us, and the good will win in the long run. So don't get caught up in views. Don't get caught up in dollars and cents right now. Like, we are creating a lasting brand, hopefully, in this space. And it's, again, the whole point of collecting is to bring back memories, to bring good feels and joys. And if we can make money off it, we're doing something really great. Like, if we can make money off people being happy in a healthy way, right? Because people are happy in some weird ways too, and people make money off of that, but in a good way, right?
Feetfinder.com, things like that.
OnlyFans is a very but no, that's exactly it. And that's again why we've connected, and I'm excited to do the things that hopefully we're going to do in this space. And maybe one day I can have the collection that you have, like the things that you are diving into, and just being
my long history of collecting.
But you're making a splash. So if you guys don't know, Robbie has, become business partners with myself and Eric Mistretta, and we're hopefully going to take Cards and Culture to the next level, the media side of things, all that kind of stuff. So Robbie is fully bought in, but he's also went to his first national last week. And the man had added some really, again, if you're an art collector, you might know some names of famous artists. Like, this dude added all those pieces to his portfolio. So it was absolutely incredible. It was fun to watch. And we have to do a whole another episode on all the pieces in your collection, and the things that you've acquired in the last couple weeks, months. I don't even know, but
yeah. It's that's been so much fun. I don't know why it's taken me this long, because I had cards as a kid, but I never thought much of them. And our mutual friend Steven, he's been in the hobby for quite a long time. So he's super excited that I'm now kind of an idiot like
Works
him in this space, right?
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't get into this like 20 years ago. I would have gone broke for sure. But I just love it. It creates new bonds. There's so much nostalgia, and it, there's a business aspect to it. There's a negotiation. There's an art to it, a plan you got to set. I've already made a ton of mistakes in the last couple of months.
It's actually what made me start a business, is because I made so many mistakes that I was like, I got to recoup some of this money somehow and get some money back.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But there's something to be said for, holding a card that, okay, I paid a lot of money for it, but it makes me remember that time I was watching the old black and white home run derby at my grandparents' house, and I spent the night over there watching Harmon Killebrew and Ernie Banks. Like, what? And I'm holding a card that was made that year that they did that. Come on, man. That's special.
And some of it's about money and value, and be like, oh, this is the scarcity, or man, this is worth this. Other times it's that kind of stuff too, right? And I told you about my favorite card is literally just because it was in a screw down case, and my dad said, don't touch that card, right? It's literally worth like fucking $8 or something right now. But I'm like, don't touch that card, mother. It's an 8.5. Okay, that's my card. It's mine, don't matter, like, right? But again, that's the memories and the thoughts, and my dad's not going to be here forever, and I'll always remember that card and always have those memories. So again, it's something that we can build joy around and stuff. So it's a fun industry to be in, and there's a lot of money to be made, so you can double dip and have some fun too. So and that's the cool part.
And I love obviously my Sigma's my baby, and I'm responsible for that, and we've got an amazing team here, and I've been able to add people like Eric and other members of our executive team that are just rock stars. So it allows me to kind of, okay, I don't have to have this in a chokehold, which for years I kind of did. Right. I had ultimate control, and that's not sustainable, right? And so letting it breathe, letting other awesome people kind of put their stamp on this allows me to kind of go play in some other spaces. And so, part of the reason I say that is I can go in a place like Cards and Culture and be with somebody like you and go, well, look, from my perspective, I kind of lend a little bit different point of view, and a different passion, a different skill set, but there's a connection at the same time. There's a commonality.
Yeah.
And so if we can and kind of embrace those different approaches and the different networks, going to the national, just seeing how the business side of it worked, I'm like, oh shit, we got some things we can do here. I'm real clear there is opportunity there. And,
that's what I said.
And I don't mean it from like a maniacal, like we're going to be so rich way. It's more of there's opportunities for the hobby to improve.
Right.
And we can be a part of that. And that scratches all my itches right there. Like
the opportunities are so endless when you go there. That's why I said, I was like, look, I'm so excited you're going because, again, I wanted to hear your perspective of like, this can change. We can do this. What if we did this? Because that to me is when I walk in those spaces, every time I'm like, yeah, we're doing some cool shit. And like, we've made a little bit of money, right? And we do this and do that. We are the smallest minnow in the biggest, like, it's crazy how much room we can grow. Yeah. And then, like you said, there's opportunities to maneuver our own way and innovate and do different things. So it really is like a blank canvas too, if you're a creator or somebody creative.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I think the other thing we hadn't really touched on too much, and I'm sure we're running out of time. Abby just said we've been here for like 7 hours.
I know she's
very antsy and annoyed with
wrap it
up.
We're gonna have a part 2 and 3, and Wino with Rhino.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's terrible.
Just inviting myself on that one.
You were already invited.
Thanks.
Jesus, what was I gonna say? I don't even know.
Sorry. But I will say. Yeah, we were going to roast you. Yeah.
That was a misstep on my part.
That's all right. Yeah, that was the problem. You were like, oh, my God, she's mad now.
I'm scared. You don't want to piss off the editor.
No. But while you think about what you were about to say, last thing before I let you go, we have to talk about where the nickname Rhino came from. That's it. That's one of the last things that I need to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Is that okay to talk about? Because
that
was a deep breath and a sip of alcohol too. So I was like, "Are you ready?"
I'm just trying to get comfortable with this format of me talking about myself. No, so like I'd mentioned before, big baseball family. I used to come home from preschool, and youngest of 3. So my sisters were in like the big school, so a lot of times I'd come home first. Well. The Cubbies played on WGN, right? Harry Carey and Steve Stone back in the golden ages. And we had 4 channels. Like, I feel so old saying that. We had 4 channels, and one of them.
Wild.
Yeah, it is wild.
Wow.
Yeah, I am old.
I actually don't think you're that old, but when you say something like that, I'm like, bro,
no,
maybe you are. Maybe
no,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm ancient. It's okay. I've accepted it.
4 channels?
4 channels. One of them was Channel 23.
It's a good number. It's my favorite number.
And that was WGN. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, look, this guy batting, he's number 23.
Right.
He looks cool. Oh, look, he just hit a home run off of Bruce Sutter in the 9th to tie it up. Wait a minute, it's the 12th, and he walked it off.
Yeah.
It was a Sandberg game. I remember I was in preschool, so what was that, 80? Shit. I can't remember the exact year. I feel bad about that.
Had an 8 in front of the 1980.
It was a 1908 something.
Yep.
But it was so unrealistic and so not possible that he did what he did. And I didn't know who he was. I barely understood the game of baseball. I just knew I loved throwing a baseball and hitting one. But the drama and the overcoming and the unlikeliness and that guy just being the dude and just showing up repeatedly in that game in the most outrageous circumstances. I'm like, I want to be that guy. Right?
Yes,
I just fell in love with him. I remember his last homer, he was rounding third, and Harry Carey said, "Here comes Rhino." And I'm like, Rhino? What the hell does that mean? And it actually took me a couple of years to understand. His name was Ryan, R-Y-N-E, not Ryan. I'm like, why do they call him Rhino? And then just watching him play the game, I remember I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. I just emulated him. Like, he was so smooth and so classy. Like, he was never down. He was always positive, and it almost felt like he never really slumped. He was just always that guy. And then as I got older, I'd hear the stories from like your Mark Graces, Sean Dunstons, Andre Dawson, Greg Maddux, like all these legends, and they would just talk about what an amazing teammate he was. And so kind of to tie it back to our conversation earlier, I'm like, I want to be known like that, right? I want to be that leader that people were like, he was that guy that made the team better, right? He was that glue, and he just showed up when we needed him to. He was so clutch. When time to perform came on, he was on, and he was just so damn good. And I could just go on for hours and talk about him. And so I kind of started to emulate him. So when I was a kid, they called me Rhino, probably because I asked them to at some point.
Just call me Rhino.
But it's funny. We have a little softball team here at Sigma that just does nothing but win championships in the Engineering Softball Classic. I'll say it, not to sound cocky, but it's facts.
I've heard.
Yeah, it's a little competitive.
Yeah.
I may or may not blow up my knee and hip every year. It takes me about 2 months to recover. It's horrible.
I saw the after effects the next day. Yes, I did.
It's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's not pretty as you age.
That's right.
But one of our guys here, and ironically, his son now plays on our younger team, which they're the ones that wins the championships now. But his name is Jaden Guidry. And I remember I was running from third, and my nickname on my jersey is Rhino. I think my number's 23. I don't know. But he turned to his mom. So, Jaden, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But he turned to his mom. He was like 10 years old. He goes, "Oh, I know why they call him Rhino." And Nick, his dad, told me, he's like, because you're so big and you move really fast for a big dude. I'm like, damn it. I think you just called me fat. That's not at all why my nickname is Rhino. But I'm kind of a big dude that moves pretty good.
So I'll take that.
It fits.
Yeah.
I'm just missing the horn, but other than that, I'm a Rhino. So yeah, that's where it came from, and it's stuck. I've had a lot of nicknames through the years, but that's always been the one that's resonated. Started with Mr. Sandberg, and so hopefully he never sues me for using his nickname. But yeah, it's kind of an homage to him, but also if you ever go study the animal that is the rhinoceros, and I'm not going to do it here on this podcast.
Please give me a glimpse, though. Please give me a glimpse of how much you've dove in on what a rhinoceros does or has, the qualities. Let's go. This is scary.
It's like that Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
No. So they're a very docile, peaceful animal. Okay. And I'm not going to give you the whole lecture. I'm just going to give you the high points here. These majestic creatures. It is absolutely happening. Get on board. Okay. None of this is going out onto the interweb.
This is actually your intro to Wino with Rhino right here.
Sarah's like, oh God, please stop him. No, so there's these big, menacing-looking, terrifying animals.
But they're nice?
They are the calmest, sweetest animals in the animal kingdom, but they're misunderstood. So to go back to where you and I were connected earlier, people are like, oh, God, they got a big horn, and they're very ugly and, like, menacing and whatever. I don't want to be near them. But they are misunderstood, and they get frustrated. The difference, though, with the rhino is this. If you harm their family or there's some type of injustice, they will 100% at 2,500 pounds run at a top-end speed of around 24, 25 miles an hour and shove their horn in places you don't want it to be. And so that's kind of me. Like,
I want to shove your horn in places.
Yes. Well, maybe not. Maybe not that part. Not at all. This is the best part. Let's just do this part.
We're going to start with this part in the podcast.
No, but seriously, they're very, they want peace. They want calm, and they want happiness, and they want life to just be chill. But they do get very passionate and fired up if you fuck with them or fuck with their people. And so that is very similar to my style. Is I want everybody to be happy, and I don't want controversy, but I'm not afraid of it.
Right.
And I don't want confrontation, but I'm not afraid of it. And if you bring it to me, or if you're a threat to me or my family, my Sigma people, or you guys or whatever, you're going to see that other side of the rhino that is what scares people, right? And so as I got older and understood them and their role in the animal kingdom, I'm like, holy shit, there's a reason I'm the rhino. Like, I'm connected to this damn thing, right?
I love that.
So I don't know that I've ever actually articulated all that to another human being, but there it is with all these cameras on me. And
we love it.
Terrified. I'm terrified of what happens with that information.
Forever. When she clips that into a 1-minute piece, it's going to be electric. Yes.
I'm
going
to call Abby and be like, take it down.
She'll be like, I hate you. Don't ever post that again. That was all. No, but that's awesome. I mean, like, seriously, like, there's a lot of layers to that stuff. So, and I think it's actually pretty cool. Sarah, I don't know if he told you this, but when we were in Chicago, one of the first trips we went on, it was the first trip. Randomly,
so great.
Ryan Sandberg was having his statue revealed that day. So it was Rhino Day. Yeah, literally. Yeah, it was unbelievable. So Bryce is in the bar. He's like, Bryce and I were like getting some food. This guy's pouting because we just landed and he can't come to Wrigleyville because he had to go drop the bags off. He was being a good man, good husband, dad, all that good stuff. But he had to leave. And Bryce and I were like, we're going to Wrigleyville. So we went to Wrigleyville. We're hanging out. And Bryce was like, my dad's going to be so jacked up. Like, it's literally Ryan Sandberg day tomorrow. Like, and so, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, we got to go watch his statue reveal, take a picture in front of it. It was really cool. So to hear that story on the podcast, unbelievable.
And we'll dive into that on Wine with Rhino, but one thing we need to talk about right now is the other thing that happened at that game. So not a lot of people know this, you youngsters out there, but way back
Can we just run out of memory?
Way back
The camera's off, dude.
I think we have just enough for
Yeah.
this story.
I think the
Turnabout's fair
camera is
play.
off.
Way back in the olden days,
I have to use the restroom.
in the National League, the pitchers used to hit for themselves. Okay. Yeah, true story. I know it's hard to believe.
I mean, if you saw me swing, you wouldn't.
Yeah. There's a guy. I want to say he's like maybe 1 for 9 in his entire career. Is that close?
A little over 100 batting average. So, yes.
Thank God you didn't get that
Thank you.
10th
Thank
at
you.
bat.
Oh, my God. It would have been miserable.
My man here hits a freaking home run at Wrigley Field. Okay. Now, the reason I know this story is because one of the first things we had talked about, he tells me this insane story that we'll have to say for another day about when he got one of the times he got called up and pitched in this game. It's an amazing story, and it needs to be captured. But he tells me this story. I'm jacked up. I go and tell my son, who's a huge fan, and you guys are now pretty close. Well, my son points out, like, "Hey, Dad, we were there." I'm like,
This is
"No,
wild.
shut up,
It
shut
really
up."
is
Like,
wild.
again, one of the reasons you and I just keep connecting. I'm like, "No, shut up." And he shows me a picture where he was taking a picture of Ben Zobrist. We were right behind home plate, and Zobrist was warming up, and you're behind him, and Ranaundo is on the scoreboard. I'm like, "Oh my God, we were there."
Yeah.
And I remembered, like, the White Sox pitcher throwing a frickin' no-no through 5 and then hits a bomb. I'm like, holy shit, I hate the White Sox. Who's this asshole? It didn't even connect at the time. And when you told the story, Bryce was like, Dad, that was Anthony Ranaundo. I'm like, oh my God.
8 years later, business partners. Homie.
What?
That's it. Yep.
Best part of the story, though, is when he mentioned earlier, I make him uncomfortable. So we're not even, you have to get special tickets to go to the outfield bleachers, and we didn't have those. All we had was Anthony's looks and my charm. And so, and Bryce's comedy. And I mean, it took all 3 of those in combination to get past this one usher. Oh my God. So we wound up getting there. And then Anthony still was like, what are we doing? I'm like, because early the day before, I'm like, where'd you hit that home run? He had no idea I was asking. He's like, it's right above that like 365 sun right center. I'm like, noted. And so the 3 of us are over there. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, just hang tight real quick. He's like, stop. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like it. I'm like, it'll be fine. So at Wrigley, the ushers are absolute Nazis in the aisles in the bleachers. So I walk down to the bottom and I'm like, hey, look. And she goes, you can't be here. I'm like, no. I need to have a conversation with you. And she was very antagonistic. She was not a nice lady, but she was like, I'm like, you need to hear what I have to tell you. Trust me. She's like, what? And now I've got like an audience. Like everyone in the crowd's like, what is happening right now? I'm like, my very tall Italian friend up there, he once pitched for the Chicago White Sox, and he hit a home run directly right here. And I would love if we could take a picture of him where his home run went out. And he does not want any of this to happen. So I'm making him do this, and you're kind of in the way. Can you just like we make dreams come true right now? And she was like,
not his dreams, my dreams.
Yes, exactly, 100%. His nightmare, my dream. Yeah. And she looked at me dead in the eye and goes, no. I'm like, oh my God, you're so awful.
And I'm looking at her like, yes, great job.
And then there's people in the stands like, wait, who is it? And then I'm like, his name's Anthony Ranaundo. He pitched for LSU. He pitched for the White Sox. He was drafted by the Red Sox. Like, he's a big deal, and he's right up there. Look at him. He looks like a ball player, doesn't he? And all the people in the stands are like, let him take the picture. And the usher's kind of like getting peer pressured. And she's looking at me like, I hate you so much. I'm like, yes, so does he. So Bryce is like, come on, Anthony. I'll hold your hand. I'll go take the picture with you. And he did.
Yeah, Bryce was literally like, this is my older brother. We're just going to take a picture. That's how we got down there. I was like, I hate you so much. And then we got down there. I was like, are you happy we took this picture that you wanted to take? I'm ready to go home.
So cool. One of the last pitchers did a home run, man, at Wrigley Field. So cool.
It was cool.
I'll never do anything that cool.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad you made me do it. I really did. At the end of the day, it was fun, and it's a cool picture for sure. So I'm glad we did it.
Good.
Bryce and I have a good first picture together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
That's good stuff. Well, Rhino,
Yeah, buddy.
thank you. I don't call you that very often, but at the end
love
of the
it.
podcast, I'm going to
Felt
call
right.
you Rhino. Yeah,
Felt right.
It felt right. This was great. I know the girls hate us right now, but we're going to do another hour-and-a-half episode just so you guys know whenever you guys are ready. So, but seriously, thank you. This was awesome. There's a lot of insights. We're going to put everything in the show notes, but we should definitely do another one. But seriously, thank you for doing this. This was awesome. I think we could have talked for another couple hours.
It
But
wasn't an hour and a half. It was an hour and 45.
ooh, wow. Talk. You know what? We want to go for 2. We want to go for 2. Sorry. Yeah, you have to stand here. You have to stay here for another 15.
Everybody else go. I'll shut it down.
It's all right. We're good. We're
Be
good.
gentle
we'll do
on
another
me.
one.
It's my first time.
Yeah. We'll do another one. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. His name's Rhino for a reason.